Hey guys, Aegis here. In just a week, we will be witnessing something that hasn't happened in Destiny 2's lifetime, I don't think anyway. We're about to see a huge mid-season nerf. A mid-season nuke, as I'm calling this. Stasis is about to get shoved with a huge nerf going into next week. I did want to cover most of it in some videos going on later in the next couple of days, but today I did want to talk about Behemoth. I am a Titan main, mainly. And when I saw all of the Behemoth nerfs coming, I knew that it was going to be crazy. And I have to say that I knew that we were going to get hit with some of the most heavy-handed nerfs, considering that we did have one of the highest win rates inside of these 3v3 modes. And I didn't need any stats to tell me that I was witnessing that. When Behemoth came out, I believe my play, my KD, literally my elo, it skyrocketed after Behemoth had came out. And this was when everybody was saying that Behemoth was one of the worst supers at the beginning of Beyond Light. People thought Behemoth wasn't worth anything. And then we started getting our fragments, we started getting aspects, and all of a sudden Behemoth started turning into one of the better supers overnight, and just one of the better subclasses to play overall. For its neutral game, one of the highest mobilities I've ever seen on Titan without having the need for Titan skating. One of the best shutdowns in the game. And everything about that is about to go bye-bye. Coming next week, Thursday. I just wanted to pose one question to you all. What the hell was Behemoth for? Because I truly don't know. What did Bungie intend for the super? To me, when I saw or even heard about Behemoth, I thought it was going to be a melee disabler. Mind you, Bungie still calls this an MMORPG, so we're going to use MMORPG terms here. When I think of Behemoth, I think of a melee disabler. Somebody that is melee, and somebody that is good at stopping fights. A disabler that would be good against other melee supers. Arcstrider was one of the strongest melee supers of its time back in year 1. A Behemoth would counter that, no problem. A Behemoth would counter basically any Titan melee super. It would just be a good super overall to counter melee. At the time, Behemoth had two things going for it, and I'm talking about the super itself. It would freeze on cast, which I thought was a really good counter to aggressive play, especially from bottom tree striker, where they are just going to pop their super right on top of you should they press close to you. I thought, in my honest mind, that when you popped Behemoth, it was meant to basically counteract those sort of plays. The second thing it had going for it was its immense damage resistance while inside of the super. When I think Behemoth, I think tank. Granted that the Behemoth was really hard to shoot down after we got Cryoclasm, which in my opinion gave Titans a much needed mobility skill to use, especially when you are in a melee super. And I felt like at the time, the nerfs were very overhanded. I felt like Behemoth was just getting hit just because, well, it's melee. You're in dangerous proximity of an enemy, and you have everything going for you. A huge freeze, a huge burst of damage resistance. And nowadays, I feel like Behemoth is just one of those really farmable supers in the game. You're talking about things like Vorpal Weapon, which has cheesed a lot of these supers. I mean, a lot of these supers you don't even see people running anymore, especially when you have things that really need a nerf like Dead Man's Tail that can also roll Vorpal, which is also a weapon you are meant to hip fire. You won't be seeing these supers very often. These supers that were once touted as being one of the strongest in the game, people aren't going to be running them because they easily get shot out of it. It's not worth using. in this environment where you can get frozen out of it. It's just it's a very toxic meta that we're in. But Behemoth, I never thought had a snowball's chance in hell once these nerfs started coming in. I thought, man, if this is what's going to happen inside of PvP, I don't see the super lasting very much longer. And well, here we are. Shiver Strike will get reduced flight speed and distance. It will get reduced knockback versus players. It will get removed slow detonation on player impact. The reduced knockback versus players was one of its strongest features, because why else would you want to use the melee? Just to get around the map? Well, you reduce the flight speed and the distance. So what else do... Well, it can slow. Well, no, it can't, because you remove the slow detonation. So what is the melee for now? On top of that, it doesn't help that Howl of the Storm, which is the Titan's uppercut. When they slide, they will just produce a line of crystal that will freeze if it touches you. It doesn't help that now you are just frozen for a full second, because that usually gave Titan some time reprieve to actually know what they're looking at when they went in for a slide. And now that has been devalued. But not only has it been devalued from that, you slowed down the sequence of crystal formation to allow victims more opportunity to escape it. You reduced the crystal freezing radius, and you reduced the angle of initial freezing / the damage cone itself. So good luck one-tapping with this. Also, good luck to my PvE guys, as they're about to have a hard time with this. Something else that I thought was interesting is now when you are in Behemoth Glacial Quake, they have reduced the damage resistance from 50% to 47%. So now it is one of the lowest damage resistant supers in the game. So what was Behemoth meant for? If Behemoth isn't really a behemoth, what was it meant to do? There are better ad clearing supers in the game for PvE, and there are better melee supers now in the game for PvP. I feel like a lot of my behemoths are just going to go back to bottom tree striker. Some of us, myself included, I'm just going to go back to Sentinel. Go back to just being a disabler with some pretty nice neutral game. But I just don't really understand, and I'm hoping that somebody in the comments will explain to me what the super is going to be meant for going forward. There is no reason to use the super inside of PvE, and I'm being genuine about that, because a lot of this is very overhanded. The fact that Shiver Strike will no longer be an impact inside of PvP, because one of its strongest suit was that you could basically get out of any disable. And at the time, the only disable you had to worry about was Duskfield, back when Duskfield was super cracked. Back when it would just pull you into it. At least a Behemoth could get out of that. And then it had other mobility going for it in terms of Cryoclasm. And to my Titan mains out there, let me know in the comments what you think of the nerfs going forward. In my honest opinion, yes, we did need a nerf to everything. And this is going to be a huge reset for a lot of you. A lot of you are going to be seeing supers out there in the wild that you haven't seen in some time. But I think that Behemoth is once again going to get pushed to one of the most underused or most underwhelming supers to be using inside of Crucible. If you see Behemoth inside of PvE, you're going to think, man, he's still clinging on for hope. Expect more videos before the Stasis nerf. I do want to talk about Revenant. I do want to talk about Shadebinder. Let me know what you guys think of those nerfs down the road. Stay safe, everyone.